Hey everybody, we are live on Facebook. Enter our Facebook group right now. Other people will be seeing this outside our Facebook group as well. And I want everybody to welcome my friend James Cooper here. Coop, I call him short. So Coop, today we're actually going to be calling the series the Immune Table Talk. And I would love to chat about like what the hot topic is for the day. And so today we're chatting about should everyone wear masks. But I want Coop, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, can you hear me okay? Or is my sound not coming in?
Your sound sounds great. And then I'm gonna have people who are in our Facebook group right now and who are watching this to actually just say, we can hear you or a hi in the comment below. And for anybody who's watching this right now, as you're coming in, can you tell me what autoimmune struggles you're dealing with right now? Or what's your biggest fear? What's your biggest fear around the health issues going on that's facing you and your family right now? If you can list that in the comment section, I'll be sure to check it out during our chat so I can see if we can answer anything.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is James Cooper, and I'm a filmmaker, and I work with businesses to help them with their online presence through video and making great videos, as I work with Maggie Yu and making her videos look amazing.
Yeah, he's the secret sauce behind a lot of our videos.
the sauce.
But I love the fact, let's just chat.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I'm having all these conversations with my friends, and coming from a functional and medical doctor point of view, a lot of times, like you mentioned it last night, you're like, why aren't we talking about this with people in the group or on page so everybody can hear what we have to say about this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so much information, there's so much misinformation. It's kind of hard to know, who to listen to. And I personally, I try to limit my amount of television in terms of news, because there's just, there's so much, it can really depress you on a day-to-day basis. So it's much nicer to connect with friends and just ask how they're doing and just connect with real people. So I love this idea of table talk, and I love being able to just kind of just have a chat.
Yeah, so today, those of you who are joining us, tell me what your biggest fear right now in dealing with the current crisis is in the comment section. I'm watching you guys. Lisa, thanks for joining us. And we have, yeah, I'm seeing some comments pop in right in our Facebook group right now. And I know there's a lot of you watching. Say hi, so I know you're watching, and tell me what your biggest fear right now is. I would love, let's talk about masks. That's the hot topic. And you asked me this yesterday, which is, should everyone wear masks? And this conversation for me happened probably, started about two weeks ago, because there's a big disparity between in Asia, what the recommendations are, the Asian governments and medical professionals, and what's happened in the West and what's happening in the United States. There's in Asia, I was talking about how it almost feels like with their anecdotal experiences is like everybody should wear masks, and Asians in Asian countries take it as their social responsibility to actually wear masks.
Yes.
And there's controversy around whether that really works or not in some ways. I want to separate some facts and talk about the cultural and then implications for supply chain as well.
Yeah.
Because for me, there is actually an increase in hate crimes anyway around the world against Asians.
Yep.
And my son, just in Eugene, was, coming back from college, was telling me that, because some of the Asians were wearing masks as their cultural responsibility, they were being targeted with people in cars throwing milkshakes and drinks at them and calling racial slurs at them. This is what my son experienced, and it broke my heart 2 weeks ago.
It's just horrible. It's just horrible, especially now in a time where we need more kindness. And I was talking to a person. I went to go pick up some food, and I don't know, some of the restaurants that have takeout, because obviously you can't sit in a restaurant, some of them are so overly friendly, and I was just sharing that. It's like, how are you doing? And it's like, I'm fine. How are you doing? It's like, and we were just having a quick connection from 6 feet away. And it's so funny. They put the food on the table, and then they step back, and then you step forward and grab the food. But we were saying, I was just telling to the person, I think it was at Panera Bread, I was just telling them, it's like, be nice to people, kindness, the stuff we should normally be doing every day, right? And it was like, I know, right? So I found in my neighborhood, a lot of people just being overly kind and overly considerate. But I also have heard about the rise in hate crimes toward people of Asian nationality, of Asian descent, and it just turns your stomach, especially at a time now where we need more compassion, more kindness to that,
Yeah.
that's happening.
I agree. And that's where the mask conversation happened last week, a couple weeks ago for me, because, you know, my son wears a mask during springtime because his pollen allergies are so bad. And he was in Eugene, where pollen count is the highest in the state of Oregon. Oregon's already high anyway. And I was literally telling him, don't wear a mask because I don't want you to be targeted or hurt. Right. So that mask conversation happened like 2 weeks ago for me already. But let's talk about it now is that, you know, why does the recommendations differ in Asia versus here? Which is that if you look at evidence as far as, you know, is there hard evidence that everyone wearing masks actually can decrease spread? And it's really, the evidence is really controversial. We don't know whether it does or not, but it does tend to think about, if you think about from a logical standpoint, it makes sense that if this virus spreads largely, the number one way it spreads is by respiratory droplets. So if someone coughs or sneezes, right, we know that there's going to be a spray of respiratory droplets. But we also know recently people have been doing experiments and showing that even in speech and in talking, there are micro respiratory droplets as well. And then you add to this thing where people are like, well, just wear masks if you're sick. But the problem is 25% of people who have the COVID infection can be asymptomatic, no symptoms. So that even if they're not sick, if they happen to cough, sneeze, or even talk really close to you, there can still be droplets. Yeah. So there's a rationale around the fact that if everyone was wearing a mask, you're going to decrease respiratory droplets, period. That makes sense to me, right? Yeah. But now we have shortages of masks for medical professionals in our front lines. Yeah. They need the masks more than we do. Yeah. Right. To protect themselves. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, if you go, you know, like in what we saw in Asia was that people were just making a mass run to hoard and get as much masks as possible because this is part of the social responsibility, right? And who knew then that there was going to be a global shortage of PPEs, masks, and gloves for our medical professionals, right? But right now, we know every mask we use is taking away from a medical professional who can help hundreds of people and putting their lives at risk. So in a way, we actually have a social obligation to not use masks, at least disposable ones that our medical professionals can use indiscriminately at their price to treat people who are really sick. Yeah. I think that really complicates it for a lot of people.
It does. It does. I mean, yeah, it's like, you know, if you have, you know, if you have masks in your garage and they can be used by health professionals who are on the front lines, please donate them. I mean, you know, because there's just a shortage. I mean, you know, there are other things that you can do if you're not symptomatic. Whereas like you can use scarves, you can, you know, there's other alternatives. If you look on YouTube, they have all these different resources using household supplies, paper towels, old shirts, like things like that you can use, and you can make your own masks. If you have sewing skills, I mean, there are people that show you step by step how to take clothing and materials in your own home and make your own personal mask.
Well, that's what I think. Like, if people ask me, what do you do if you go out? I can tell you right now, I would be tying a bandana or a handkerchief around myself. Yeah. I would try not to talk to people. I would definitely, you know, use my hand sanitizer before, afterwards. But like, why? I think to me, that makes sense. Like I mean, one of our alumni, those of you who are alumni who are watching, if you can post in the comments your alumni, that'd be great. Barbara Shank, one of our alumni, actually worked with a respiratory therapist who's a neighbor of hers, who devised a mask that people can make and send to healthcare professionals. And the healthcare professionals can even slip their disposable masks inside it so that it can save the repeat. And they can have, like, let's say 10, 20 of these, and they can rewash those at home every night. And meanwhile, reuse that actual N95 or other mask inside it. Yeah. That is genius.
Yeah, really smart. Really smart.
Right? And if those of you who are in our Facebook group haven't seen the video, we can post it again, but Barbara shows us, any of you that sew, please look at Barbara's, she created that mask with the help of a respiratory therapist neighbor. And you can actually, medical professionals can put other masks inside it to make those other masks reusable. So this is the kind of innovation and conversation of what people can practically do, not only to protect themselves with like a bandana or a handkerchief, but also what can you do for those of you that sew, and those of you, I mean, my God, why are in manufacturing? Are we not switching and getting as many companies as possible in the US to create either disposable masks or washable masks?
Yeah.
For our medical professionals.
But there's a lot of, there's some of that going on, but not enough. I mean, obviously with the shortage, you know, every state that has local businesses that can do it, you know, should be doing it. You know, it's the thing that we had this conversation, how wearing masks, don't wear masks, how that conversation shifted. Because what I was hearing when this first started happening, like before there was a national emergency, before that, people started wearing masks when they were traveling on planes, even though they weren't symptomatic. And the talk was, don't wear a mask, because first of all, unless that it wasn't going to protect you from getting sick, because and for some people they were saying that it was going to increase your odds of getting sick, because what happens is people wear the mask and then
don't wash their hands.
They wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. And then they would the mask would itch, and they would like reach in and scratch their nose or touch their face underneath the mask, and then that would get them sick. And it was
a false sense of security thing.
Yeah. But the conversation seems to have changed now, where they want everybody to wear masks. At least that's what they were saying on the, from the press conferences, the presidential press conferences, because a couple things happen. One, it makes people more socially aware to keep social distancing. Because if you see somebody with a mask, you don't know whether they're sick or not. You're going to keep that distance between that person. And so if everybody does that, then it only contributes to helping keep the social distancing around. And so that's one way. And the other thing is, the idea is, if you wear a mask, it keeps you from touching your face. It keeps you from touching your nose. You're more aware of it because there's something covering it, but you still have to wash your hands, obviously. And also, when you go out, if you go out with a mask or you go out with a scarf or whatever it is that you're doing, especially if it's a scarf or a cloth, something, make sure you wash it when you come home, because you don't know what in the airborne particles have attached to that scarf or whatever. And it's just something that you should do when you get home. They're recommending that if you go out to the grocery store, if you're wearing something, that when you come home, you should change into like just different clothes when you come home and wash those clothes. Every little bit can help.
But here's the thing. I think sometimes the focus is the focus. I want to frame this focus. I think is interesting is that we think that we're going to be getting COVID or exposed through casual contact of walking by each other, or even like getting some food from somewhere, a restaurant, or going to the grocery store. That's not predominantly at all the mode with which people are getting exposed to this virus. I think what's really happening is, what people are finding is there's some super spreader events that has caused it to happen. Like recently they were talking at a funeral that people had about 2 weeks ago, where everybody was crying, hugging, crying, sneezing, that was a super spreader event. But predominantly what's happening is that home contacts, immediate family contacts getting sick is actually the biggest way that people are getting exposed in a much closer, intimate way, where you're not wearing a mask at home.
Right.
Those are actually right now, like, is where a lot of the spread is coming from, which is why it's, for me, like a lot of this whole thing about out there with masks. Yes, I would do it anyway with a bandana, right? But I think that it takes away from the focus is keep you and everybody at home safe.
Yeah. I mean, that's
and away from everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, like when I come home, if I have to go to the grocery store, because I mean, we're clamped down here. Well, the only place I go out is to go to the grocery store and come back. It's pretty much the only place that I've driven the car. And so the kids know when I come home, no hugs or kisses, nothing. let me go wash my hands.
Oh,
And it's so sad because it's like, sometimes they're like run up, but they know now that when mom or dad comes home, that if they've been out, to wash your hands, because it's like, yeah, I might not have had contact with anybody or been in proximity, but the grocery cart, even though I've sprayed it down, the grocery cart or a door handle to the building, I don't know. And so it's just always better to be safe. And when you come home, wash your hands. I take, change my shirt, just little things like that take literally 2 seconds or 20 seconds. You're supposed to wash your hands for 20 seconds. But, those little things
yeah.
that make all the difference to keep everyone at home safe.
So I'm seeing a comment here from Patty, and she says, I'm terrified. I have a compromised immune system. My children are doing all my running, but scared for them to be coming in contact.
Yeah.
I think, so, I mean, my program is Transform Autoimmune Naturally, done online in the safety of people's homes. So I am in my program and myself dealing with a population that is particularly, for many reasons, at higher risk.
Yeah.
And so I think that this idea that people, from the safety of their own home, what can they do to actually really focus on to decrease additional infection risk to them, yeah, is really important to think about. Like, I know there's a lot of focus on going out in masks, right? But I think for people with autoimmunity, and I'm speaking to anybody who's immunocompromised, really thinking about who is coming into your home and what are their exposures is even more important than thinking about when you go out with a mask or not. Yep.
Yep. No, I agree. We have chores. We wipe down surfaces. That's one thing. It's like that's part of our daily chores.
Yeah.
I mean, little things like that, door handles. I mean, you could literally drive yourself crazy with the cleansing and making everything is clean. The most important thing is your hands, obviously, because you touch things and you don't realize. I have never been so aware of not touching my face, or how many times I touch my face, even if like scratch your nose or run your fingers through your hair or all that stuff, right? I mean, there's just so much that you touch things and then you touch your face, and we don't realize how often we touch our face, and that is how. That's how it mostly spreads. Your eyes, your nose, your mouth. I mean, that's how people get sick. I want to point something out too, though, is especially for anybody in an immunocompromised situation. Can you write in the comment section right now if you think you're in an immunocompromised situation, and tell me why? I just want to see what's going on with our audience and some of the things we want to address. But I think here's the deal. When you're dealing with immunocompromised, or if you have autoimmunity and you're on a medication, or you're currently in a flare, to me, the focus needs to shift away from, is COVID actually the biggest risk to the autoimmune or immunocompromised people right now? And personally, I feel like, no, that is not their biggest risk right now, because all of us are actually taking really good measures as much as we possibly can. Yeah. But here's the thing. If people with autoimmunity are in a current medical flare right now, or if they're like in a tenuous state where they're going to get another flare because they're totally stressed out, and stress is the biggest crusher on the immune system, this is going to put you in a requirement to access medical care at your doctor's office, and an urgent care, or at a hospital, which is, like I said again, the last place they want to be at. So the focus really is, how do you get out of your current flare you're in, and how do you prevent future flares to decrease exposures now? Like, that should be the biggest focus, rather than COVID itself. Right. Yeah, totally. You don't want to be in those environments. Those like the last. I mean, that's like the last place you want to be. Yeah. I mean, you obviously the medical expert, so I don't have I don't have expertise in this, but I also know from a mindset perspective, because in another life, when I was a life coach, the effect that stress and fear has on the body, and the mindset that you need, because I mean, wouldn't you agree that, and I think you've talked about this before, the effect that stress and fear has on the immune system? Oh yeah. I actually just did a video on depression, anxiety, and COVID, and how to
be preemptive with your mental health, because the biggest crusher of your immune system is actually your mental health and stress, how your body deals with stress.
Yeah.
And if anybody missed that video, please check out my YouTube channel to look at my COVID playlist. And that's one of the videos. There's also a self-assessment checklist on mental health as well on there that you should be doing, I think, every other day with you and your family.
Yeah.
But you're right, this whole mental health piece is really big. And last night on a coaching call in our program, it's all online with clients in our program, we had the piece that's mental health and community support done online. Is like last night I was talking about how each person who's actually still working out in the workforce should be having a conversation with their employer, and how and what type of conversation they should have about what are the policies they have in place at their employer to keep everybody well and informed and safe.
Yeah.
And why transparency with employers about who's out sick, why, what are the test results, what are the lack of test results, those kinds of information now needs to be shared, because I really believe that full transparency from an employer to employee is the best way to keep our workforce as healthy as possible, as informed as possible, and to keep our economy going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, all right. So bottom line on masks, my what I'm going to tell you is that, you know, personally, if I was going out, I would be using washable, reusable masks that you can see patterns on the internet. We're going to post one that Barbara made in our Facebook group. Those of you who haven't joined our Facebook group, join our group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. I'm in there regularly live, and we're going to be doing more table talks. What do you think, dude? I mean, this is a conversation we were having last night.
Casual conversation. I like it. And we can talk about different subjects and kind of things that are going on out there. I like it. I like it very much.
Yeah, if those of you want to see more table talk with me and my friends or James, go ahead and put in the comment section more table talk. And
we'll bring in guests.
We'll just have, you want some guests?
We'll bring in some more guests to talk, especially at a time like this where we can all use, you know, whether it's mindset tools, medical tools, all these different little strategies to make ourselves a little bit better each day. And I think that's something that everybody can get on board with. As
awesome.
My son is walking in the door.
Thanks, Coop. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Lupus, lung fibrosis,
Hashimoto's thyroiditis,
fibromyalgia, AS, which is a form of arthritis,
Epstein-Barr, extremely fatigued.
pretty much zero joint pain.
Much more happy.
I don't have brain fog anymore. How much weight I have lost.
I want to see remission.
Maggie and her approach is very different than the traditional doctor.
I'm a totally different person.
I got a better understanding of what those intolerances were.
You're not alone.
The community is, I'm learning from everyone else's issues.
It's not just helped me, it's helped my entire family.
We are transformed.
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 Join the movement and transform your autoimmune naturally today.